There is a part of you that you rarely meet, a presence that walks beside you in silence, in darkness, in forgotten corners of your life. You feel it in your triggers. You glimpse it in your fears. And sometimes you hear it whisper when everything else is quiet. This is your shadow, not evil, not wrong, but exiled, buried, unseen. It is made of everything you were told not to be, not to feel, not to show. Your rage, your grief, your need, your shame. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung said, "The shadow is everything you have rejected, ignored, or denied about yourself." And in ancient mythologies, it was everywhere. In Egyptian lore, the god Set, who murdered his brother Osiris, represented chaos, jealousy, darkness. But he wasn't a villain. He was a necessary force. A reminder that even gods carry contradictions. In Greek myth, the underworld was not hell. It was the realm of Hades, the unseen, where souls go to be purified, where truths are stripped of illusion, where heroes meet their deepest fears and emerge changed. In Japanese Shinto belief, even the darkest spirits, the yokai, aren't always evil. They are reflections of emotion, imbalance, unacknowledged pain. Because what is repressed returns, not to haunt you, but to be seen. Modern life tells you to be positive, to move on, to focus on the light. But the ancients knew better. They knew that you cannot reach the summit without entering the cave. You cannot find truth without meeting the false. And you cannot awaken without facing what sleeps inside you. Shadow work is not about fixing yourself. It's about reclaiming yourself. Going back for the parts you abandoned, the child who was silenced, the anger that was punished, the dreams you buried in fear of rejection. It is not a straight line. It is a spiral, downward, inward, into the root of your being. In myths, the hero's journey always led through the underworld. Orpheus descends for Eurydice. Inanna enters the great below. Even Christ goes into the tomb before rising again. Because transformation isn't a ladder you climb. It is a descent into the unknown. The shadow is not here to destroy you. It is here to free you, to show you what is real and what is ready to be released. So ask yourself, what part of you have you pushed away? What emotion keeps knocking at your door? What memory still burns in the corner of your mind? That is your shadow, and it is waiting, not with claws, but with truth, not to drag you into darkness, but to show you how much light you've been hiding from yourself. In every ancient story of transformation, there is a moment of descent, a step away from the known world and into the dark. It is not a punishment. It is a rite of passage. Think of Persephone, the maiden of spring, stolen by Hades, yes, but also reborn as queen of the underworld. She did not stay a child. She became a guide, a bridge between worlds. The descent is a sacred part of the journey, and the shadow is the gatekeeper. In mythology, this crossing often comes in disguise, a betrayal, a heartbreak, a loss you didn't see coming, the job that slipped away, the relationship that broke, the illness, the silence, the moment where the ground beneath you collapsed. In these moments, life doesn't feel poetic. It feels cruel. But if you listen closely, there is a whisper beneath the chaos. This is not your end. This is your crossing. Jung called it the night sea journey. Dante called it the dark wood. The Tibetans called it the bardo. And the shamans? They called it initiation, because something sacred happens here. In the darkness, there are no masks. There are no roles to play. You are face to face with your deepest truth. The shadow does not lie. It holds up a mirror and says, "This is what you ran from. This is what still hurts. This is what you must hold, not to cling, but to heal." But here's the paradox. The underworld doesn't want you to stay. It wants you to remember, to gather the lost pieces. to find the gold hidden in the dark, and then to rise, not as the person you were, but as the person you were always meant to become. In the story of Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of love and war, she descends into the underworld to visit her sister Ereshkigal, the Shadow Queen. To pass through each gate, she must remove a piece of her identity, her crown, her jewels, her robe. By the time she reaches the bottom, she is naked, stripped, powerless. And yet, that is where she awakens. Because only when we are emptied can we be truly filled. Your own descent may not look mythic. It may happen in the quiet of your bedroom, in the middle of the night, when the world is asleep and only your thoughts remain. It may look like crying in your car, or staring at a wall, or asking yourself, "Who am I now?" But that question is sacred, because the one asking it is awakening. The descent teaches you to sit with what hurts, to stop running, to listen, not to fix it, but to witness it, with love. Only then can the real healing begin. So if you are here, if you feel like you've fallen, if the world around you has grown quiet and dark, you are not lost. You are in the place where myths begin, where the soul remembers, where the old self dies, where the phoenix gathers ash before it learns how to rise. Once you've entered the underworld, one figure always appears. Not a monster, not a villain, but a shadow. And that shadow is you, the part of you you've ignored, the parts you buried because they were too much, too angry, too needy, too emotional, too wild, too loud, too soft. All the parts the world told you to hide now stand before you, and they ask only one thing: will you see me? This is the truth behind every myth of dragons, demons, and beasts in the dark. They are not enemies. They are protectors of the truth. The Minotaur in the labyrinth is not there to be slain. It is there to be understood, because the real battle is not one of swords, but of honesty. Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The shadow is not evil. It is wounded. It is ancient. It is waiting to be welcomed home." In shamanic tradition, the soul is seen as splintered. When we experience trauma, parts of us fracture and hide. These fragments become our shadows, not because they are bad, but because they were too painful to carry in the light. But what is hidden is not lost. It is waiting. And the moment we stop judging our pain, the moment we sit with it, hold it, listen to its story, it begins to soften. The lion no longer roars. The monster no longer chases. The demon no longer bites. Because what it wanted was never to destroy you. It wanted to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. There's a reason why, in so many myths, the hero only escapes the underworld by naming the thing they fear, by turning toward it, not away. Think of the Japanese myth of Aim no Yuzu, the goddess who brings Amaterasu, the sun, out of her cave. She does it not by force, but by dance, by joy, by reminding the light of what it truly is. This is how we bring our own light back, not by force, but by compassion, by saying to our fear, "I see you," to our sadness, "I accept you," to our rage, "You belong too." The myth of the shadow is not about fighting. It's about integration. You are not meant to kill the dragon. You are meant to ride it, and that begins with recognition. So look at your life. What are you afraid to admit? What parts of you feel unworthy, unlovable, unseen? Those are your shadows. Not enemies, but invitations. Every ancient temple had a dark corridor. Every spiritual path has a night. Every healing has a howl before it finds its song. So meet your shadow, sit with it, and know you are not broken because it's there. You are whole because now you are ready to see it. This is how we rise. Not by pretending the darkness doesn't exist, but by walking into it with open eyes and a heart that says, All of me is welcome here. What happens when the journey into the shadow is complete? When you have walked through fire, stood in silence, and faced the parts of yourself you once feared. You don't become someone else. You become whole. Because healing is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming true. All myths of transformation, from the death and rebirth of the phoenix to the descent of Inanna into the underworld, end with one thing: return. Not to where you started, but to who you were meant to be all along. In the hero's journey, this is called the return with the elixir. You come back from the depths, not empty-handed, but with wisdom, with clarity, with the power to help others who are still lost in the dark. And this is the final phase of shadow work: integration. To live in the light with your shadows. To make peace with what once hurt. To walk in the world not pretending, but embodied. Because the shadow doesn't disappear. It becomes your strength. Your sensitivity becomes empathy. Your anger becomes boundaries. Your grief becomes wisdom. Your fear becomes awareness. Nothing is wasted. Everything transforms. In alchemy, this is known as conjunction, the sacred union of opposites. The merging of light and dark, sun and moon, conscious and unconscious. This is why the yin-yang symbol contains both black and white, with a dot of the other inside each. There is no full light without shadow, no full shadow without light. When you live integrated, people will feel it. You will speak with deeper presence. You will love without needing control. You will set boundaries without guilt. You will shine, but softly, with the calm power of someone who knows who they are. And most of all, you will not fear the next descent, because you've been there before. You've walked through your own night. You've held your own ashes. You've seen the face behind the mask. And now, you are home in yourself. Not perfect, not finished, but real. This is the gift of myth. Not just to entertain, but to guide. The story of shadow work, whether told through ancient legends or modern therapy, is the same. We are all walking ourselves back to wholeness. And you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are exactly where your story needs you to be. So breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the space around your heart. And know the shadow was never your enemy. It was your teacher. And now that you've listened, you carry something more valuable than light. You carry truth.